The Sustainable Voice, bringing you big successes from small places worldwide.
Welcome back to Sustainable Voice. Leigh, how are you?
Ashish, I'm doing great, my friend. How are you?
It's been like forever. Honestly, it feels like forever. I'm having Leigh withdrawal symptoms.
I know it does. It has been forever. Last time I did this, it was still the heat of the summer, and now I'm in my long sleeves. So time
So do
marches
we
on.
well we have some really cool people with us today. We're doing part 2 of our episodes on second generation businesses and just success and what it looks like as well. So introducing everybody to Sterling and Lise-Marie, legends in the industry. Say hi to the world, Lise-Marie and Sterling.
Hello. We're thrilled to be here.
Thanks
So
for having us.
we're going to be talking today about second generation businesses and talking specifically about what that's like. But before we jump into it, Kevin Bacon had this game called 6 Degrees of Separation. And I always thought it was the biggest bunch of BS. However, I got to tell you that our pre setup before we started today proved his game to be right. So I'm going to begrudgingly apologize to Mr. Kevin Bacon and say your game was exactly right. It is 6 degrees of separation. There is a connection, Lise-Marie, you and Leigh have.
Yeah.
Please share.
And it's just 1 degree.
It's 1 degree.
It really
just 1
interesting.
degree.
It's 1 degree. We were talking a little bit about expedition cruising, and I said, my husband's in the business. And the next thing you know, Leigh said, oh, is that Dietmar? And I said, yes. And she said, I worked with him. So there you go. That's 1 degree.
Well, it's amazing. It's incredible. Okay, so Leigh, how did you know her husband?
He was the CEO, right, of Cruise West when at the very end. I think by then I was working from home, but we were still and my late husband was still involved in the company, and we were all there. We were all there together at the end.
Wow.
It might be helpful to add just a little bit of context because
Do tell.
my first experiences at all, like I think 12-ish years old. I mean, I had cruised probably my whole childhood with my parents' extensive background in cruising. In fact, I just found, Mom, my crew card from the Crystal Symphony that I was.
No, seriously?
I had a little crew card, and I'm adorable and 2 years old. And my signature is like this because it was, but if I had my wallet on me, I would break it out because it's awesome. But in this far history of cruising, Cruise West was probably my first like conscious experience of not only like cruising, but like expedition cruising. And like we were saying earlier, I mean, this was way before, one, I had any interest in working in travel, but two, before expedition cruising was really as popular as it was. So we are also connected in some way. And Dietmar's my dad, obviously.
So 2 and 3 degrees of separation.
I love that you've got a crew card.
This is incredible, and obviously, I'm not big on boats. I don't do boats. I just
not do boats. I will write that down.
Yeah, I don't do boats. I'll jump off a cliff with a parachute, no problem. I'll river rafting, no problem. Something that gets me, adrenaline flowing, great. But for some odd reason, no matter how amazing the ship is, I don't do well. I go stir crazy. But this okay. So this is going to launch us off into what I wanted to talk about today. So this series is called Generation Squared, right? That's what we're calling this. 2 parts is called Generation Squared because it is so amazing. I'm second generation myself in the business, and it's so amazing to see such a successful pairing of business. So, and Sterling, you're talking about since you were 6 that you were seeing this, and even probably even younger that you remember being on a boat with your parents. I was 4 when I was on safari, and you still have those memories. So, Sterling, what is your fondest memory as a kid? What is your fondest memory as a kid when you were following your obviously legendary parents around?
I'll go in 2 different directions here because I think I've got some itty bitty memories that are probably resurfaced through pictures and whatnot. So my parents, most of when I was really young and the bulk of when they were dating and falling in love, a lot of their love story was on Crystal. And now
not Princess, not the Love Boat.
No.
That's a
God,
love boat.
we missed out. Gavin McLeod would be so upset. I'm just kidding. Go ahead.
But it kind of ties into like my love of luxury and my love of the cruise lines and all of that. But my early memories, first part to this, my early memories reignited by photos when I'm like 2 years old. Like I said, just picking up that crew card, but seeing pictures of our family photos doing Christmas card pictures on board cruise ships. And my brother and I are teeny tiny. So that's part one of those memories. But then my active memories going back to Cruise West would be our first time going to Alaska. And that was on, gosh, I don't even remember the name of the boat, but it was definitely different because, again, it was the beginning of expedition, and my brother and I were maybe 12 and 9 years old. We were kids, but this was a time when things like spotting animals with our binoculars and whatnot would be super exciting. And then I think shortly after that, we also did Panama and Costa Rica, also with Cruise West. And those kinds of memories where my dad would surprise us in port and come sailing with us, because usually it would be my mom, my brother, and I. And then my dad would show up and join us on the ship. And that would kind of be the magic of it, where my mom would create the magic with the day-to-day, and then my dad would kind of show up, and then we'd do everything as a family. And it would always be a surprise. And he did that a lot of times throughout our childhood. Like we'd be in Austria, and my dad is Austrian, if you guys didn't, Leigh, you knew that, but he's Austrian. If we were just there, he would come out of a corner. You know, we'd be in a restaurant, and he would just say, "Hello, where is everybody? I didn't know you'd be here," you know, in his thick accent. But yeah, like I think as a family, because travel is so intrinsically woven in our veins, magic would be created kind of anywhere. So I know you asked for one specific memory.
No,
but
that's
I could give
awesome.
you a slew.
I was going to ask your mom that, obviously, one of the things that I've learned from Leigh early on for her days at Cruise West is that they were basically ahead of their time, right,
Way
in what
ahead.
they were doing.
Way
Way
ahead.
ahead, right? So
I mean, it was 2010, I guess. 2008. I guess it was right before the whole bank disaster.
Yeah.
But they had just started doing. They were primarily an Alaska company, Alaska expedition, and they were broadening their horizons and doing worldwide. So they put together this thing called Voyages of the Great Explorers. And
I remember
everybody
this.
thought they were insane. I mean, everybody said, "You're insane. Why would you?" There's nothing about an expedition that's interesting. Listen, the boats were old pots. I mean, they were not what they are today. They were old pots. So you'd walk on and you'd say, I don't know. But within one day,
Yeah.
those binoculars on this is what made me fall in love with safari and sustainable everything, just because you saw things that you never saw on a cruise ship. And just as an aside, I used to work on board Crystal. That's how I met my husband. So I had literally been to Alaska 40 times. 40 times, right? Because it was during Desert Storm and they pulled out of everything. So we just kept doing Alaska. But it was not until we got on an expedition cruise ship on Cruise West that I actually saw Alaska. And it was like, my mind was blown. So I think it's the most incredible travel for being on water. I mean, again, my husband calls it ocean safari. So it's just, ocean safari, same thing. It is that same kind of magic that you have when you go to Africa or any of these wonderful destinations that you do. But in any case, I went from being, and I just have to throw this in, the lead singer on the most luxurious.
Wait. Hang on. Lead singer?
Yes.
Wait. We're not glossing over that. Hold on. Yeah, no. We're going to stop right there for a second. Lead singer? Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So you were Gem on the Holograms before there was Gem on the Holograms.
Yeah.
I totally get it. All right. Go, please. What kind of music were you singing?
I was like the star of the Broadway shows. So I was like Christine and Phantom and Fantine and Les Mis. And I did all these fabulous things, right? And I met my husband on board. It was really magical.
You need to give the imagery of
Yeah.
She's the lead singer, and she's Fantine, and she's singing "I Dreamed a Dream" or something, and you see this tall Austrian in the back with his stripes, right? You see hotel director in the back going, And then suddenly Fantine finishes her song, goes off stage, and maybe it's a review or something, and new song comes on, and what does she find in her dressing room? Dozens and dozens of red roses, every rose on the ship,
Every rose on the ship. It was really quite funny.
filled in her dressing room. And who's the culprit? Mr. Tall Austrian in his stripes. But that's the story I always tell.
Okay, but regardless, I came from this world of like, yes, leading lady, glamour, beautiful crystal, amazing. I get to cruise west and I fall in love with travel. Like I did not know what it meant to be moved and to be changed. And you know who really did it? I mean, Alaska was amazing. But then when we went down to Costa Rica and Panama, and I met San Blas, met the Embera.
Wow.
And we had this experience, and I mean, it was like I'm a girly girl, right? Like there's no question I'm a girly girl, but I was done. Like that was what travel for me meant, was to be brought to tears. And this is exactly why I started the company.
So how many years have I known you and I didn't know you were a performer?
Yeah, about 15.
Okay, hang on. So Leigh, when you were I'm sorry, I'm getting a mental image right now that I cannot get out of my mind. I mean, it's a cool image. It's a really cool image. All right. So hang on, Sterling, did you ever see Mom perform?
Not live, but I have several videos from Crystal days. Several.
Any that you think you could share that we could use?
Sure. I mean, they're all somewhere.
Mom, are you okay with that?
Yeah, sure.
But if I found them, they are going your way for sure.
Oh, all right,
yes.
Leigh.
But it's so funny. She quoted me this morning, though, I have to tell you. This was quite funny because we were talking on the phone, and she's a little obsessed with my Adelaide from Guys and Dolls. So go ahead, Sterling.
If you're not familiar, well, I'm not super familiar with the show, but I was
love
just
that
having
show.
dinner with a friend, and I was talking about my mom, as I do, because I brag about her a lot. But I was trying to show her some videos, and I looked deep through the videos and found I guess, was it a short version of Guys and Dolls?
Yeah.
Or something. But I guess they got these really thick kind of, is it a New York accent, Mom?
Well, it's Adelaide. I mean, you'll just know. I mean, yes, she's. But anyway, all day she's been saying to me, "Please, you have to sing it."
Okay, so I'm going to ask you right now, then.
It's so that's a scene, and Adelaide is sitting at her boudoir, and I guess she's reminiscing about a love interest or something, and I don't know the context. He won't propose, and she's wondering why he won't propose. And the whole song, she's reading something, and she says, "It says here, something." And the whole song...
I know this scene. And
the whole song goes, "A person can develop a cold." And she's singing about her loved one being sick, and that's why he won't propose.
All day today. It says here. It says here.
He could have a cold. And it's so funny, but you have to watch it. And I'm going to find the video, and then the viewers and everybody, this will make sense.
Oh, this is going to be our highest rated episode yet. I can already tell.
It doesn't make sense out of context, but if you know the musical.
All right, wait. Can you guys both give us a taste of this scene?
You're going to need to do it, Mom. So you just finised.
I am begging you, please. I am begging you.
I love you. Okay, that's you.
A bush and a hug around the neck, a hug around the neck, and a barrel and a squeeze, and I'm talking in my sleep about you.
So, but now Adelaide, get to your boudoir and.
Anyway, okay, no, it says here psychosomatic symptoms, all of that stuff, and in other words, we'll wait.
No way! Come on, please.
Anyway,
Bravo.
The important thing is we're talking about travel.
This is, I already respected you, both of you. This has gone to a different level because you'll laugh. As we were talking about this, my mom poked her door in saying, "Are you going to come and have lunch?" So I'm telling you, I've respected both of you from afar. And I know Leigh knows this story. I talked to you guys obviously at the conference in Las Vegas, and I said, we need to have you come on the show. We're doing this series, and oh my gosh, this is just incredible. All right, so all right, I don't know how we follow that up, but Leigh, with your daughters, anything you can share about your daughters watching you on a
Well, in fact, this weekend I just reconnected with some people I hadn't seen in 20 years, 25 from my boat days, and Caroline was with me, and it was fun to watch her just interact with them. But boat people and people in travel are cut of some different kind of cloth, and Caroline's definitely cut of that same, and I imagine you are as well, Sterling. But there's just something really special about people who make their living in travel and are devoted to that as a lifestyle. So I don't know if I can think of anything particular, but I did enjoy watching Caroline jump right into that. She's a natural in that
I
world.
agree. I agree.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
I'll share with you my earliest memory was I was 4 years old. We had gone to this place in Kenya called Treetops Lodge. It doesn't really exist anymore now. I mean, it's reopened now, but it's not the same thing. But this was like olden days, right? So, Sterling, I'm not sure if you're familiar with this place at all, but it's basically a hotel built literally a treehouse, and you used a rope, rope stairs to go up into your room. Like it's the real treehouse, legit. And I was brushing my teeth in the bathroom. There were kerosene lamps, so no electricity. So in the daytime, in the morning, and I've said this story a couple of times, but it's a shadow cast over the bathroom because so it's wooden planks like a treehouse, like this far apart. And I went and looked close, like what is cast a shadow? It's an elephant's eyeball staring back at me, that far apart from my face,
Oh my
staring
God.
back at me. And I came out, I'm like, Mom, I was 4 years old. Mom, Dad. Look, elephant, there's an elephant there. Quick. And my father goes, get the camera. And he goes, like, where's the camera? And this is film camera, 35 millimeter. And I look over, it's a table, those treetops lodge had those patios outside. I go to get the camera, and a monkey comes down, wraps up the camera in its tail, and takes off. Camera gone, monkey gone. I look over, and the elephant's gone too. But those memories, I'll never forget. Like you're spot on. So this then leads me to a really good question. This is something I love asking because I love the answer to this. Okay, Sterling, how did you join forces with your mom?
That's a great.
She's yeah. What led you here, and how did you join forces? Because God, you two are just amazing.
Oh, thank you. Honestly, there was a little bit of resistance, I would say. Do you agree, Mom? Like a little bit of
Who
Can I
is this person? What does she want?
Let me just say one little thing. So I started the company 15 years ago and named it Sterling Journeys, right? Sterling is the name of my daughter.
And I'm 12 years old.
She's 12 years old, and she says, Mom, if you think that that's going to get me to be a travel advisor, you're wrong. And
I
just
have no memory of that.
forget about it. I remember very clearly, and I laughed and I thought, I just love the name. Anyway, now it's your turn.
Yes, I'm glad you love the name, and you can name 2 things that you love after that, which is great. So I have no memory of saying this to her, but sure, yes, I went to a very challenging liberal arts college, and then I went to graduate school, and I really was into academia. I was really into studying rhetoric, communication, and persuasion. I was really convinced that I was going to be a professor, and I wanted to continue to get my PhD after I got my master's, and that was really what I wanted to do. And I might offend some academics that are listening to this.
No way. Don't worry. Go for it. Are you kidding me? They already don't like me anyway, so go ahead.
No, good. One thing that I kind of learned in graduate school, and mind you, while I was in graduate school, in order to get a full ride, in order to have your tuition paid for, you had to teach. You had to, there was a lot of, there was a assistantship position that you'd have to do. So you would teach, and in exchange for teaching their kind of entry-level public speaking course, you could get your tuition covered, and, you get a very small, unlivable stipend. And that would be your grad school life. So extra scrappy grad school life. And during kind of my first year, I realized, okay, so a lot of what academia is, or a lot of what it would look like for me studying communication and studying what I wanted to study, was writing about things from research that other academics wrote that are only accessible in the database at your university in the graduate school. So then I could write more papers based on these other papers that would then get published and sent out to be put then again in another database at a large university that was only accessible to other academics. And that was just kind of what it ended up being. And I realized we were writing about things that, like, I hate to say it, but like don't really matter. And things that will really not leave the walls of this university. Things that will not, like, talking about, like, one paper I wrote was about Elizabeth Holmes, the Theranos lady, the one that did the blood testing that was a complete scam. I loved writing about scammers and things like that, but I would talk about like female leadership and mentorship and her impact on that rhetorically. But yes, cool for a singular paper, right? And I ended up getting an award for that paper and presenting it at a conference. But in those moments, I'm thinking, is this changing the world? Probably not. And who else is going to read this? Other people like me, other academics who want to write a paper about something, and that paper then gets put into publications that get put in a database, and that's the cycle, right? And it stays within the walls of this university, and it's in language that only academics can understand. It's written in lofty language, and it's all theory and criticism and nothing with my bare hands anymore. And
no application.
Coming from her, being a creative, being someone that wants to see, real fruits of my labor, if that was where it stops, then I don't think that would be satisfying for me. So within the scrappy life of graduate school, I needed more work, because with teaching public speaking and the very small stipend that I was getting from that, and then babysitting, my mom said, you know what, I'm still a solopreneur, but I need some help with some itineraries. So I'm going to hire Sterling. And I did maybe 15 hours or so with my mom doing her itineraries and like just putting bookings together in our itinerary software, really not thinking much of it, but just kind of doing things here and there, noticing a little bit of details, supporting her in some marketing efforts. I ended up doing my final graduate school project on some training materials for my mom to hire somebody full-time. And so the culmination of graduate school, as I was writing things in the graduate school land that are only going to affect other graduate students, and then babysitting, and then also doing stuff for Sterling Journeys, the culmination of my final project was going to be putting together training materials for her to hire a full-time kind of operations person, an operations manager, an operations role. And so around the time that I was ready to present this project to the board of the communications department, I was interviewing for some jobs that were more on the analytical side, jobs that I was qualified for, but nothing was really exciting me. And kind of go for it.
Jump in. You have to let me jump in, because here's okay. So I'm having my review with my host agency, and I'm talking about the fact that I'm going to lose Sterling. And I'm saying to them, oh my gosh, I am just heartsick. I'm not going to find anyone like her. You don't. She's a mini me. I mean, she
spoken like a true proud mother.
She just knows. And I was speaking with Meredith and Vanessa, whom you know both. And I said, but she's got a master's. I can't afford her. There's just no way I can afford her. And both of them said, you cannot not afford her. You must offer her a job at a competitive salary. And I got so excited and scared. And I thought, you know what? I'm just going to jump off the cliff. I'm just going to do it. I'm going to just jump off the cliff. And she's my daughter. She'll understand if I fail. At least that was better. I went back to her, and she's interviewing with other people. So now you can continue.
Yeah, so I'm taking Zoom calls. I'm looking at staying in the Midwest, because I went to graduate school in a fabulous town called Muncie, Indiana.
This town. I know this town
because it sucks.
But I know this town.
I'm thinking, I'm going to look for some jobs that I could either do remotely and stay in Indiana, because alongside all of this, I I'm dating somebody and I'm seeing it going full term. And, that's another part of this factor of, I think I'm going to stay in the Midwest and, all of that. So I'm interviewing for jobs and they're interesting, but the Midwest is not really a travel hub. There's a lot of great industries here, but, trying to force a square peg into a round hole is proving to be a challenge. So I literally get off a Zoom call. My mom calls me and she's like, "Hi, so I happen to be in North Carolina right now, and I was just at GTN headquarters, and I think I want to offer you a full-time job." And I'm like, "Huh? What do you mean a full-time job?" I thought, what? Like, I'm very confused, but she's like, "You know what? I think we're here, and I think this is where we want to go. No one gets this like you do. Nobody understands what I want to do and who I want to be like you do." And I think in the moment, I was still really in this different headspace of, if I go work for my mom, am I a nepo baby? And am I am I not qualified for anything else? Like, I was really struggling with the voice in the back of my head saying, if your parent hires you, then it means you weren't qualified to get a job on your own.
Right.
And, I was really trying to fight that instinctual reaction. And so I said, okay, I'll think about it. And at the same time, I'm given projects to do from other job opportunities, which I know now is a huge red flag of they're asking you to do labor. And this was labor like spreadsheets and Excel and just not my language, but again, pretending it was my language. And at that moment, I just said, you know what, let's go, let's do it. And honestly, from there, let's see, that was 2023. Since that time, jumping headfirst right in, since that time, we have tripled the business from a moment where she was nervous and she was scared. And I think because we were together and because we could lean on each other. And yeah, sure, I made mistakes, plenty of them, but they never happened again because
you learned.
We looked out for each other, and that's the kind of person that I am. And giving me the opportunity to have an ownership stake in the business really motivates you.
Yeah.
So in that first year, I think by the end of 2023, we had gone from, let's say you were at 1.2 million in sales. I think we ended at 3.7 million. And It was just the two of us. And that was, just to give you some metrics.
Yeah. That's
that was really exciting for us. And it was a lot of hard work, and a lot of learning. And so now we've grown immensely and we're changing every minute, but that is a good thing. If there's one thing I've learned from Jen Cochran, who I love, CEO of Gifted Travel Network, it's that if you're not changing, be concerned if you're not changing. Be concerned if you're not flipping your script a little bit, because growth is always change. And some people are uncomfortable with change, but my whole life has been a testament to how much we love change. My dad's job has taken us all over the country. My brother and I are really used to packing up and moving and changing lives and, going into the next chapter. And we've embraced that in our business. And so some people are afraid to scrap out old systems and develop new ones, but it's just kind of become part of who we are to
sure.
Out with old, in with the new, out with old, in with the new, because to keep evolving means to keep growing, and to keep growing is just the bread and butter of being business owners. So very long-winded answer.
No, but this is so interesting because, so I had, I think, was it 11 or 12, right? Everybody assumed I would join the business. My father caught wind that I was actually designing on AutoCAD. And I was designing car designs. I was a car guy since I was a kid. I was designing car designs. And so he actually sent one of my little sketches off to Honda Motor Company without me knowing. I was designing one with the wheels, like what the crab crawl that General Motors was doing now. I designed that like on paper when I was 11, right? I'm not saying I had the patent on, but just basically like that, and breaking apart the molecules of hydrogen, make molecules of water, trying to find ways to a car runs on hydrogen and what it does. Anyway, he sent it off, and I didn't know, but I get a letter back from attorneys for Honda Motor Company saying, we love this, but we can't use it. And if we do, we're not going to get credit for it because you're a minor, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, I didn't know. I was too young at the time, right? I was 11, whatever the case. Fast forward to 17, and it was a similar conversation. I went to my father. I said, I want nothing to do with this business. I'm a finance guy. I'm a car guy. I'm going to go double major in engineering and a double major in finance, and I'm going to go. I need my own identity. And it wasn't until 2002, right around there, he goes, look, I need help. I have this growing business. And he said something almost identical to what your mom said to you, right? Nobody gets what I'm trying to do like you do. And I was like, and I said the same thing. I said, I don't want to be a nepo baby. I don't want to be a silver spoon baby. He goes, what spoon do you have in your mouth besides one that's rusted and cut up and all broken? There's no silver left on this spoon. There never was. And if it is, and he starts laughing and he goes, just come with me to India. And it's this and I've been to India many times, but this transformational visit because I was with him. So it was this transformational visit. And I remember it was like, let me think about it. And then he called me up and he said, look, this is what I want you to do. This is where I need your help. This is the case. This is the case. And it was just that. It was a frank conversation, and it was the same fears. And he was like, I'm going to go off a cliff and whatnot. And it's the same thing. You look back and go, holy cow, look at where we are now, right? Look at where the business has grown. And so I have to ask this question to both of you. And this question, is there a moment that shocked both of you? I know we're in the business where there's lots of shocking, but a moment that something happened that just shocked you both.
I will talk. I don't know how much shock, but we solved a problem that was probably unsolvable.
Oh.
And we both looked at each other and said, oh my gosh.
We did it.
So I don't know if we can actually even say this, but we're going to say it. What the
The
heck?
story has been published. This has been published online.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we had clients and they were in England at a reunion, and we had put together a trip in France, and they were going to go to Normandy, and this was really important for them. They have history, their family tree, whatever. They're in England, and the gentleman loses his passport. And so, okay, that's fine. But if you go to an embassy in England and get a temporary passport, it is not recognized in France. So I can't get them into France. I can't get him he can't.
Here's the key, though. You can't get into France on a plane from London.
No, with a temporary
passport.
A temporary U.S. passport.
Yeah, you cannot. It's not recognized. And you can't in a lot of EU countries, believe it or not, they don't recognize it if it's from England. I don't know. Anyway, so we're thinking about this, and we're thinking and we're going back and forth. And so we had them fly into Luxembourg, stay the night, rent a car, and drive to France. And we got them there.
They were Shenzhen borders, so
that's incredible.
And so, they were like, it was a beautiful drive. We met the rest of the group at Charles de Gaulle, and
how long did it take to solve that problem?
Not that long.
Maybe like an hour or two, but we kept going. I mean, we were just going back and forth like, there's got to be a way, and of course we didn't want to do anything that wasn't okay, but that was okay because Luxembourg actually recognized the U.S. temporary passport. So
I didn't know that. Leigh, did you know that?
I know, right? Who knew? So I'm just saying.
I love this.
But we thought, we're not going to let this trip go. And for the gentleman that was doing this, it was the most important for him. He is older and he probably won't get a chance to travel much more. And he had been wanting to go to Normandy his whole life. And so we were just, they were in tears when they called us from London. They said, we don't know what to do. He can't go. So we felt pretty proud of ourselves.
I was gonna say, I mean, that's incredible. Okay, so how did you guys celebrate once it happened?
Did we celebrate? I mean,
we lived in different places, so we couldn't really celebrate together. But we enjoyed that story a whole lot, and we felt like this is what it means to be an advisor. It's not about selling. We didn't sell anything extra. I mean, I don't think we even booked the rental car. The point is that wasn't what it was about. It was that we used our collective brain power and knowledge of travel and thought, these are our precious clients and we want them to have what they paid for. It was so rewarding. And it's so funny. I mean,
I gave a keynote this morning as of this recording, and we were talking specifically about life altering versus life changing. And we were talking about all too often this notion about this trip will transform your life, it'll change your life, it'll whatever, whether it's a trip, a car, house, whatever the case, right? Experience, it'll change your house, it'll change your life, transform your life. And I made the argument to say that's not deemed successful anymore. What's deemed successful is a hard alteration, whether it's a left or right. And I don't mean politically, I mean just in general, right? A deviation from what your flight plan for your life was to be, a hard deviation from that, because something happened that made you question your moral compass and take a steep turn either direction because your belief system has been rocked to its core to the point where you now have a whole new set of beliefs. You now have a set of beliefs that define you in a way that is just impossible to explain. And what you just described, and for that family, that's what that is. It is that life-altering decision, something that is going to get you to make a deviation from why you were in this business, right? Nobody gets into any business to say, well, I'm going to do things for free.
Yeah,
Right.
no.
I mean, Sterling's talking about, the projects, whatnot. Well, what's your career? I do things for free for people.
People think that is what we do.
Yeah,
it is true.
For real.
But to what you described, it is that hard deviation. So then, Leigh, you and I have talked about this next thing, right? What made you laugh the hardest? Something that has made you laugh to the point of just tears. I mean, I even settled for spitting out a drink. I mean, laughing that hard. But what made you laugh? Something happened that made you just laugh so hard.
Do you have something, Mom?
I thought you would know. Leigh.
Oh,
No. It's Leigh.
I'm
It's
waiting
Leigh.
for you. I can't think of anything.
That was the moment.
Leigh.
That was the moment. It was the Abilene paradox where I said something and I sat quietly and nobody knew who to go. That's the Abilene paradox.
Okay, I know. I'm
That's the Abilene paradox, folks, right there. No, sorry. Go ahead.
I have to respond that I would say my absolute crazy crying whatever was aquavit intensified. So it's probably not worth mentioning.
Why not?
Have you ever had aquavit?
I know where this is going.
No. What is aquavit?
So my heritage is Norwegian,
Yes.
and this is their version of their distilled whatever, and it's
Everclear, if you want.
Norwegians love it. I have to shoot it because I can't stand the taste of it. But it was on Cruise West once again, and we had a very strong Norwegian captain, and one of my closest friends, who was also a singer on board a cruise ship, married the Norwegian captain. I married the Austrian hotel director. And both of our husbands have these accents that are just like, they don't disappear. Not after 40 years of living in the US, doesn't matter. They're just still here. So with a lot of aquavit, we actually could not control ourselves because the Norwegians say for the word think, they say tink. And for the Austrians, when they say the word think, it's sink. So we were tinking and sinking, and it was like we were just crying.
It's funny because it was their crew members. So saying things like, "Guys, we are sinking. Oh, what are you thinking about?" Like it was this whole skit, and I don't even think I was there. Obviously, I was.
You were there, but not when we were
on this story.
Totally inebriated. But
we are sinking.
We are sinking and we are tinking. I don't know.
The bit is that one of them pretends to be like, the captain, right? I think Radolf would be the captain.
Radolf was saying,
we are sinking, like Mayday, we are sinking. And then that answers
they are sinking.
Did anybody overhear you guys doing this on the boat?
I'll tell you, it was a dinner. It was a dinner. It was like a dinner. We had just caught a lot of cod because Radolf had taken us out cod fishing and he had prepared it. My girlfriend and I were uncontrollable. We had way too much aquavit. I mean, everybody must have been looking at us like, you guys are in so much trouble.
We are sinking and we are tinking.
Yeah, but really what they meant to say was thinking, right?
Both
It
of them
had
said
nothing to
thinking.
do with tinking and sinking, but we just thought it
I'm
was.
using that from now on. Forget tomato. I'm using sinking and tinking from now on. Sinking, tinking, same difference. Here, I'm using that. Leigh, we're using that from now on. That's
I like
sticking.
it.
To
We
add
need
to our ongoing pattern of degrees of separation, Radolf, the Norwegian captain, came from Crystal. So Crystal, or our Crystal days, brought us that. And when my dad was at Cruise West, we brought Radolf over to sail was it the Spirit of Oceanus, Mom?
Yeah.
Spirit of
Yes.
Oceanus.
Yeah. So we
you
did
know him?
I think it was.
You know him, Leigh?
Sterling, you see what just happened? Both of them just nodded at the exact same time. Did you notice that?
Yeah.
Did you know Radolf, Leigh?
No, I didn't. My husband probably did, but I did not. No.
Yeah. But anyway, it was, yeah. Sorry, Sterling, keep going.
But that was another formative moment we did. I think it was a segment of the Voyages of the Great Explorers, and it was on the Spirit of Oceanus, and we did, gosh, I think we got on the ship in Honfleur, and then did North Sea, and we went all the way to North Cape up in Norway, and then I think we ended up British Isles. Like, it was a big trip. But Radolf was the captain on that ship, and so it was just kind of this beautiful culmination of Crystal family and then moving over to becoming kind of Cruise West family. And my little brother and I and a small group of kids were like the only kids on board. And
they were like, everything was
us with our little
I am seeing them sinking. I'm seeing them sinking and tinking.
You know what was so amazing though about that is that Norway and the British Isles, and this was probably the first expedition cruise line to do it as an expedition. So you saw things that all the other big cruise ships have been doing the Isles forever, right? And doing North Cape and all of that stuff. But you actually experienced it with, looking at the puffins and all the,
getting on Zodiacs. I mean, that Zodiac
was
still
new
to
back
this
then.
day are like my favorite thing. Like my favorite thing to do on anything. Like I will remember going to see the Embera, and we did a Zodiac landing, like a legitimate landing of your feet will get wet. You will be climbing out onto the beach, and you will be greeted by tribal women. And my brother and I are like 12 and 9 at this point, and we're getting incredible exposure to this culture of people that have incredible tattooed paintings on their whole bodies. They're making us their own dishes, and we're eating exotic foods. And I think there was one toilet on the whole island. So that was good. That took some.
Was it sinking?
No, but anyway, it's just amazing though what travel does. And when you were saying there was that moment, and for me, of course, it was the Embera, and then we took it to a whole new level when I got to Africa. Which I still need to get her to Africa because it's, as you know, it's life changing.
I am ready when you are, on one condition: we'll reenact that screenplay scene from Guys and Dolls.
Okay.
As long as we're doing that, I am in.
But Mom, you remember when you were getting on that plane from JFK to Cape Town, and you had a middle seat in economy, and you were like,
"Oh my God, I'm dying." I'm dying. But by the time,
why did I do this? I don't even sell Africa. That was the whole.
I don't even know Africa. I don't even know it. I should do it because I'm a travel advisor. I should. It's important that I learn these things. So I took a fam and I thought, okay, and it was a terrible, middle seat. I get there, and of course, the magic happens
immediately.
And it was probably the first time in my entire life. And I have little children at home, and I love them, and I love my husband. But I cried when I had to get back on the plane to go home.
And that's that deviation. That's that life-altering deviation we're talking about.
And it was also the smell of the bush. Mm-hmm. For some reason, the olfactory glands, and I guess it was wild sage, but the point was that I literally knew that these were my roots. 180,000 years ago, this is where I was from. I knew it. I just knew it. And I couldn't believe it. Of course, I've done my DNA, and that's exactly what they told me. But the point is that I knew that this was where it began. And I was, again, I'm a freaking singer, It's like, what
And
do
a
I
good
know
one
about
at that too.
travel? I
I
mean,
mean,
but I became this different person.
that's
And this
life-altering
is what
deviation.
and this is what travel can do. And it should do. And we should be sharing this with our
Mhm.
clients because it makes us better citizens of the world. It makes us better people, to
Absolutely
have this
right.
experience.
So, and you're spot on. Okay, Sterling, you heard it. We're all going. Leigh, you too. We're going.
I'm there. I'm packed.
So, my last question to you guys. This has been so much fun. My last question to you guys. Advice you would give. Remember the last group talked about how many times they're firing each other over the course of the day. That was hilarious too. What's one piece of advice that each of you would give to any tandem, father, son, mother, daughter, whatever, but to a second generation? What is one piece of advice that you would give to anybody who's watching you right now?
Wow. For me, I empowered early, and I gave her autonomy in things to allow her. I mean, she's no dummy. I mean, when you listen to her talk, you're like, yeah, she could have found another job. This was not about, this was absolutely
Now,
God.
I know you're biased because you're mom, but me sitting distant, I agree fully with this, and I
Yeah.
knew that
There's no,
before this.
Yeah.
yeah. So it's like, I knew that I was, getting a whole lot more than, but I also knew that by somebody who is that self-motivated. I mean, again, we have the same work ethic. We're very lucky in that way. But I gave autonomy, and yeah, there were some mistakes that were made, but we cleaned them up together. There was no finger pointing. There was learning, and I would say that you know, just because they're your child, they are now an adult, and bringing her in and giving her that opportunity to fall down a couple times and you know it was, I think, probably what grew her the fastest.
Yeah.
Sterling, what do you think
I think that's great advice, and she is right. I mean, I think
about
there
you
was
being wicked smart? Absolutely, yes,
yes.
she is.
Thank you. I more so mean, giving me ownership in the company, and it was a little like, oh wow, I feel really young and really privileged to be in this position, but it really makes you rise to the occasion, I would say. But also mine's going to be more of a mindset shifting advice of when I really struggled with the nepo baby talk in the back of my head. If you really look at successful family businesses, right, that actually do really well, why wouldn't hiring your family be a smart move? Because why wouldn't you hire the people you trust the most and the people who are like you and get you the most? I mean, the trust is probably the biggest thing, right? And because we both love it, and at least, I mean, I've grown to love it. I didn't think I would love it as much as I do, and I didn't think I would be as good at it as I am, because like I shared, like I thought my life was going to go in a really different direction. And I'm finding that the skills that I studied throughout 6 years of academia, right, is so much more enlightened in this job. I feel like such a better communicator in this kind of role and a better public speaker in this kind of role. And I have all this public speaking knowledge from degrees upon degrees for that kind of study. And now I feel like in the 3 years that I've been here, maybe 4 years that I've been with my mom, I've grown 10 times more. So the advice from that would be, if there is a voice in the back of one's head when you have the opportunity to join your family, I mean, honestly, if your family is coming to you to say, I want you, versus this is your fallback option, or I'm going to create a role for you because you have no other choice, because that's one thing, right? But if your family's coming and saying, I need help and no one gets this like you, right? That's such a huge compliment. And hearing the compliment when it's said, because even biases aside, when it's your business is also your baby, and you wouldn't just hire anybody to
No.
be in your growing business. And if
Mm-mm.
you're choosing to hire your offspring, right, to be part of that, that really does mean something. So yeah, I would say my advice would be to just cut out the noise of any of that nepo baby talk or any of the silver spoon talk, because it just doesn't exist. Doesn't exist unless you were really struggling out there. But it's such an honor to get to say that your parent or your family strove to get you, and that you have like measurable, legitimate metrics to show what you've done for the company. And I'm really proud that I get to say that, because there's numbers that speak for themselves. And the giant jump that she was so nervous to make financially, we don't even think about that jump anymore. It's not even a thought in our head, because the two of us we're the core of the company now. And it springboards some really exciting things on hiring and expanding and scaling once again, and looking at reorganization. And it's really fun to get to do it with your mom.
So I'm going to close with this, that takeaway for everybody here: trust in family, trust, and go where you're wanted, go where you're needed.
Go where you're wanted. Yeah, I think that's awesome.
Yeah. Go where you're wanted. Thanks for joining us, everybody. Thanks for joining us, both. This was incredible.
This was great. Thank you so much.
And to all of our listeners, if you like what you heard today, please make sure you hit that subscribe button, hit that like button. Make sure you tune into these episodes where we have amazing people like Sterling and Lise-Marie. Just absolutely an honor to have you guys on to talk about what a family business looks like when it's done right. Class all the way, really, really well. So for those of you, all of our listeners at home, that's the takeaway today. Go where you're wanted. Take care.
Thank you for listening to The Sustainable Voice. If you have a success story of your own, please reach out and share it with us. We'd love to hear from you. See you next time.